Can you hear me? Testing, testing. Dexter, do you hear me?
We're supposed to get 2.5 inches today, and I'm sure we did.
Oh, I think we got it.
Yeah.
I think we got
Yeah.
all of that and maybe more.
Oh, I haven't checked my rain gauge at home, but I'll find out.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi. Oh, if I could just figure out how to lay this chair back. Oh, I don't want to go down and go up. I want to lay it backwards.
Well, that's where, what's his name, sits short, so I don't think he's that short. Is he?
If you just lay it backwards, you could take a nappy poo. It's a pretty soft chair. Okay, so I guess at 5:33, we'll call the meeting order for the Delaware County Fish and Game Advisory Commission, and we'll catch a roll call.
Chairman Rob Miller,
Here.
Vice Chairman Justin Nunez,
Here.
Commissioner Jacek Steinreich, Commissioner Kendall Smith, Commissioner Jimmy Faulkner, Commissioner Helen Ferguson, Commissioner Michael Koopman, Commissioner Job Silva,
Here.
Commissioner Stephen Avila.
Okay, I don't know if everyone has looked at the minutes for the previous meeting, and if they have, if there is a motion to accept them.
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye. Okay. So are there any public comments today? You may, but you got to come up because we're recording. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I'm sure. Yeah, if he's coming to this meeting, he'll absolutely be available for comment.
Excellent, yeah.
There may be, however, based on the rules, some kind of a 3-minute limitation, but I don't know about how that's all going to work at this point. But yeah, he's coming.
Oh, and as an aside, about a month ago or so, we did a general cleanup, our group did. Just basically at the launches, we focused on those and just picked a bunch of stuff up. And the population of Del Norte continues to be a bunch of slobs. You have to assume that from the stuff we picked up. Freezers full of stuff, literally, you know.
Well, it's cheaper to dump it out there than it is to take it to the dump.
Well, not at the price of gas.
Oh, yeah.
It's a long ways out there, some of them. Anyway, so that's what we've been up to. Thank you.
If there's no other public comment at the moment, I don't assume that there's any agency or association status reports to give. Okay, very good. So we'll move on to concerns about local bee populations.
Thank you very much for your time this evening. I have left with your secretary both the copy that was in the Del Norte triplicate regarding concerns about the bee population in Del Norte County and Curry County. Also a letter that I wrote that basically summarizes the concerns. And I just wanted to present this to you to let you know that the status with the Department of Fish and Wildlife, they are accumulating the information to present to the FGC. They're accumulating information all year. So the entire year of 2023, the DFW is accumulating comments about the bee population. So the FGC won't actually receive that report until, if not the end of 2023, then 2024. I'm here to actually be a little bit proactive in regard to bringing to your awareness that this is a concern, and actually to inform you that this concern is not new. This was first brought before the CDFW in 2018. So this has been a 5 years process for registering the 4 bee populations that you see here on the California endangered species. If you have any questions, you're invited to ask. Otherwise, I just wanted to leave you the information and to also let you know that I'll be following up with the DFW and the FGC, and I'll be back to share information with you about the status of the bees. My hope is that since the lily bulb business is a failing business as far as its profits are concerned, and that most of the lily bulb growing is being done outside of our area in greenhouses, that we can look forward to organic gardening and possibly a different species that is more designed for living in this area, because lily bulbs need 6 to 8 hours of sun a day. So that's why their production is being focused more in greenhouses to be more successful. Any questions? Thank you for your time. Okay. Thank you.
Any discussion from any members on the bee issue? I can tell you from a lily bulb standpoint, since that's what I do, the Easter lilies in the field here absolutely don't attract bees at all. Never see a bee in the field. Never see a bee in the field. So that's relatively a benign issue from the outdoor production of lilies. They're just not there. They're not attracted to the flowers at all. Okay. And there's been an issue in this part of the world. I know from the last couple years, the pollination issues on apples and peaches and that kind of stuff has been poor because of weather at the time they flower. Like right now, this is not a good time for these trees to be flowering, and peach trees are breaking open and the plum trees are breaking open, and there's no good bee going to come out in this kind of weather. You know, they're hiding. So that's been an issue. Even in Gasky, I haven't had good years with peaches and plums and so forth in Gasky recently, the last few years. So, anybody else with discussions about bees? So we'll move on to public lands, state lands, and federal lands, if anybody has anything to discuss on them. Are we also Zooming? So I'm assuming there's nobody wanting discussions in the Zoom? Yeah. He doesn't get much service though. Okay, thank you. Elk Stakeholders Group. I haven't heard anything since the last meeting on the Elk Stakeholders Group as to when that's supposed to be, but it's theoretically sometime, quote unquote, late May. And we'll be pushing pretty hard, as we all know, that the meeting is here and not in Eureka or Arcata or Mendocino County or something, just because of our problems. I'm assuming that's what we should continue to do, is to keep after Sean Freeze about making sure it's here, and if he can't seem to find a location, we'll find a location to have it. I don't know how big he wants it or needs it, but he didn't think, the last I talked to him, that Grange and Fort Dick would be acceptable. They weren't necessarily treated overly hospitably at the Grange Hall the last time. They wanted to escort me out of the room, I think. Okay, so Klamath Chinook listing. I don't know. I was hoping Mike was going to come. I talked with a guy who's in the middle of a lot of this and is a fisherman and has fished in Mike's boat and knew Mike, and so I told him to try to catch up with Mike. And his comment was that as far as he could see, and as far as what's her name, Michelle, what's her name, that's, Fish and Wildlife person, I don't seem to be able to pull up his email at the moment, and I didn't print it, and I should have. But what he found out and so forth through Fish and Wildlife was that they were not proposing to list the Fall Run Chinook. As we discussed last meeting, Fall Run Chinook was probably the biggest heartache for tourism and so forth. They weren't proposing to list Fall Run Chinook, it was only the springers. But I think everybody probably saw that they're also proposing to eliminate salmon fishing as a whole in the ocean and probably also in the rivers this fall because of low numbers.
And as we all know, they've always been very accurate with their numbers.
Very, very accurate. Yes, yes. Yeah. Well, their numbers for total return in the Klamath, I think, were like 120,000. That was the grand total, and is almost like 128 or 130,000 in the Sacramento, which is really low, considering the millions of fish they release out of those hatcheries down there. And my guess is that there won't be any season, and they'll probably 86 the river too. But who knows? It's too early to tell. Too early to tell. Have you heard anything on that at all, Jimmy, in your?
No, just like you said, I think all three options came out and they all involve no fishing.
Yeah, yeah, those were the options. No
Yeah,
fishing, no
so
fishing,
I'm
and no
pretty
fishing.
sure, there shouldn't, it doesn't get decided till April, sometime in April.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I've heard floating around too. But Jackie, I think we could maybe clarify, the first one is for Klamath Spring Chinook listing,
Yeah,
and then the other one is Fall Run.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the number 7 is Fall Run. Right,
Number 7 is Chinook salmon.
yeah,
Oh, yes, you're right.
that,
because they're
that,
included.
that's Chinook salmon all, but there's,
Point up to Columbia River is what they're looking
yeah,
Right.
yeah. And what is her name?
I know you're talking to.
Not Michelle Gilroy, but
Oh, that's the one.
the big one in Reading. Supposedly, they're not proposing to list Fall Run.
But so the state listed Spring Run, and the feds did not list Spring Run. So the feds are going through the process to list, what is it, there's an actual term for it. It's not a status review, but it's going up for federal listing, the Fall Run from wherever it is, Cape Mendocino to Columbia, on the coastal, whatever.
the completion of population, even though there isn't an ESU there.
Right, that's where I was getting, yeah.
But that's number 7. We were talking about.
I wish I could draw up the email text that was sent, and for some reason I'm.
You send it to me, Rob, I can make sure it goes out.
Yeah, I don't, I sent it to Mike, but for some reason, I don't know why must be me, not the machine I'm working with here.
Just a quick question. Is your board interested in attending to the diversion of water from the Trinity River to Southern California versus that water draining into the Klamath River? Is that something that your board would be interested in addressing?
I don't think, this is a Delaware County organization, and I don't know that we're set up, depends on what the counselors think and so forth, but I don't know that we're set up for commenting and quoting and so forth on happenings on the, down there.
Right, I know what you mean. It's just that it does tie into the Klamath River, all the water that's being diverted out of the Trinity. That's why I brought it up, because there
Yeah.
is that relationship.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if your board would be addressing that or not.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, there'll be a lot of interesting happenings when those dams are gone.
Well, that's upriver of Klamath, though, that's Oregon.
Oh, I understand. I understand. I know. She's talking about Trinity. She's talking about Trinity and out of Lewiston and pumping it over the hill and so forth, and that's certainly the case, but that kind of stuff also ties into the Klamath, right? Because it dumps into the Klamath, and when the water in the Klamath goes away because there's no water coming down at any temperature, that's a big problem.
There's going to be problems with Klamath Lake too. They're protecting the sucker right here now.
Right.
You know,
Right.
You know, like Tule Lake is not going to have any water in it at all this year.
Nope.
Neither will Lower Klamath. But
You know, and it's a
business is going to get the water.
it's an interesting issue because, of course, the scientists, which of course I am not even close, all don't seem to have a problem if there's a lot less water in the Klamath than there is currently at any temperature.
Well, I think that
And in the winter, when it's not controlled at all, might need to get to higher ground. Because you get years like this, when you got the snow like you got up there now, and you get a warm rain, I can remember when you couldn't drive south on 101 because the Klamath River was across it. So, it can happen. It can happen. So, Lake Earl hunting closures. Oh, I didn't talk about the Ditson, but I was gonna go back to the Ditson because I noticed that just as I mentioned it. So is there anything cooking on Lake Earl?
I'll just get up and give our usual spiel. Once again, Sherman Jackson representing Del Norte Waterfowlers. I don't know how long the dune grass eradication has been going on for. I know it's been going on for well over 10 years. And all of a sudden, was it 2 years ago, they closed it. They closed a portion of it. Fish and Game said they are responsible for that closure. It had nothing to do with the dune people doing it. They didn't request it or anything. When there was a complaint lodged and we started getting into it, the response was to double the area of closure. Now, the proposal coming up that we've seen indications of, they're going to quadruple the closure area. And ostensibly, it's for protection of the people. Now, I think you've all received that information that they didn't even work 20% of the days of the closures. And in fact, the best days for hunting would be days that they would never even be out there. However, the closure stays in effect. You know, I think it's become a pissing contest.
I was gonna say, you get the feeling that because you have, the Del Norte waterfowlers have been vocal.
Oh, yeah.
And so forth, that you're now being penalized?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think it doesn't take a Mensa candidate to figure that one out. You know, on the other hand, the dunes people are responsible for millions of dollars worth of grant. Now, they have I think a several $1 million grant coming up for 25 years of dune grass removal. We see that as 25 years of closure that they expect to do. You know, and I understand this is California, and I understand every means possible will be used to stop hunting. I mean, you know, I might be feeling a little paranoid here, but this is what I'm seeing. You know, we're still in communication with other groups, and the California Conservation Commission, Wildlife Conservation Commission, and the Fish and Game Commission. But I don't, you know, I just sometimes, you know, you get a little depressed. Anyway, sorry, just
Yeah, that's
venting.
fine. So Sean Freeze was, I think he said he was going to try to come in May, didn't he?
Okay, this is
And
what's
his-
funny.
And his boss was coming too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, him and another guy both made the comments that they were surprised that the closures occurred. This came down from above. No, well, obviously, 10 years of pulling, no closures, suddenly, well, no. The problem is we complained. And this is a response.
And see, the issue is real simple. You know, Sean Freeze has passed it up line,
Yeah,
not his fault. And I can't think of his boss's name that was over here for.
Stoddard.
Yeah, it's
Stoddard.
Jeff Stoddard.
Jeff Stoddard.
He's passed it up because it got a little hot. It got a little hot when they were here on the elk out at the Grange Hall for them, right? And so now all of this has come from above. And the $64 question, which they may or may not answer, is it who above did it come from?